So hello, welcome everybody to the Sweet Spot Global Leadership Summit, where we are talking all week about how visionary organizations and their leaders can thrive from the inside out. And I'm super excited to introduce you to the wonderful Sophia Francescutti. You may notice her and I have the same last name. She's my lovely sister-in-law who I'm thankful to have as part of my family. And also she's a performing arts teacher at an elementary school here in Canada. And so I really wanted to invite her in to talk to us about leadership, about the perspective from leading children, and then some big takeaways that she wants to share with us today around communication and relationships and how those are key in having a positive impact in the world. So Sophia, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Sarah. I'd like to start by just acknowledging that I'm living and learning and working and playing on the traditional territories of the Snuneymuxw and the Snanawas peoples.
Yes, thank you. That's great. Well, I'm so glad that you can be here and share with us today. So I'd love to just maybe open it up by saying, you said that your big theme that you want to talk about is communication and relationships. So maybe we can start there and why you feel that that's an important thing to discuss today.
Sounds good. Well, when I thought about my experiences as a teacher, working with the entire school population and all of the staff at school, the biggest thing that I kept coming back to is the fact that it all comes down to the relationship piece and the connections that you have with people that you're with. And I think there's a couple of different pillars within that context that really apply to my work that I do with kids and adults, but I think would probably cross into other areas of other professions too. One being, of course, the connection that you have with yourself, your relationship with yourself, and how that can contribute to or detract from your performance as a professional. And then the other context is the relationship that you have with the people that you're working with every day, whether they be adults or kids.
Right, absolutely. So maybe we can split that into two pieces, because I know a relationship with oneself is very different, but impactful to the relationships with others. So maybe we can talk about why that's so important first, because I completely agree that whole inner piece first is crucial. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah, and I do think that the most important piece out of those pillars of that whole connection piece is the self-connection. I think that if you're in a good grounded place yourself and you're feeling well physically and mentally, that you're going to be able to bring out the best within yourself. And one of the words that always jumps out to me from speaking with you is to be able to thrive with what you're doing. So not just do, but do well, and to do in a way that's going to help bring a more positive impact on other people. So it's about investing some time and kind of figuring out what you need.
Yeah, right.
Listening to your body, right? Inquiring, like, what is it that my body needs right now? And that's probably not wine and Netflix. It could be something
sometimes
deeper than that, maybe.
Yeah,
but
but not all the time. I agree.
Right? Like, are you busy making dinner after a long day, and your body's like, oh, I could just really go for some fresh air and a walk right now? Like, I know that's something I'm working towards doing, is just taking that, acknowledging what my body's saying, and then taking the time to try and work within that, even if it's stepping outside the house for 5 minutes and getting some fresh air, or thinking about what type of things light you up. And when I mean light you up, those things that just bring you so much joy, and you can see it in your face. You get really excited when you think about doing it. And for me, it would be like doing music or doing some artwork, or maybe doing something fun with my kids. So for me, it's all about trying to bring more joy into my life. That's one of my big self-care goals right now, is what can I do to make things more joyful. Even the chores around the house after you've done everything. I'm sitting there chopping veg and I'm tired, but if I put some music on or listen to a podcast, it would be way more fun.
I've been thinking the same, actually. The evening dishes, I enjoy it because it's a kind of a peaceful mindfulness moment. But I was thinking, what would make it more fun? And I was thinking that same thing, listening to some inspiring audio or something while I'm doing it, just to make it even more of a self-care moment instead of it being a work, tiring, exhausting kind of experience. Yeah,
it could be as simple as a drop of lavender or peppermint essential oil in your dishwashing thing, right? Like, just bringing in some more sensory experience, bringing in something that lights you up. Think about it, write it down, write down what lights you up, or brainstorm, or
I
So
love that
take
idea
time.
too. It doesn't have to be a huge thing that you need to change, overhaul everything. It could just be these small additions
Yeah.
to get that.
What could make this more for me is like
Hmm.
how could it be more for me? Not a big thing, a small thing, small micro shifts that help to kind of bring more thrive and joy into the life, versus the other end, which I am personally working on digging myself out of the hole of burnout and just going. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
type
Well,
A
and I think that's,
personality and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
and
struggle, right?
exactly. That's me too. And I think even more so for people that are still trying to kind of stay positive in this kind of turbulent times we've had in the last few years. So I think that self-care piece is even more crucial than it ever has been. And
Mm-hmm.
and kind of really making that time for that self relationship. So I really like how you said, what does my body need versus what do I need? Because that could be a really big, there could be a variety of things. So I like actually tapping into that specifically, at different levels there. That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. And I think part of it for me, that I've really found has been super helpful in the last year when I've reflected on all the amazing things that have happened for me in the last year and the things that I've made happen is just reaching out to people for support,
Mm-hmm.
whether that be a counselor or a coach or a family friend, or another type of professional, maybe a naturopath or some kind of doctor. When you start to inquire when you really do some critical thinking about what's happening within your own mind and your own body, and figuring out what do you need to do, the next steps to try and like encourage your well-being. And for me it was bringing myself out of like adrenal failure and burnout and back into like a
Mm.
normal like functioning way of being, and trying to like enhance that even more. So
Yeah.
just
Okay.
pulling in, reaching out to other people who might have some skill set or some valuable knowledge to help support you and wherever you are.
Yeah, especially if you're kind of further in that kind of survive mode, I think the more support is needed, right? To
Mm-hmm.
kind of get back to that thriving state again.
Or even
Um,
if you think that things are going really well, if you want to
mm,
take it to the next level, reaching out to someone who is maybe further along in the journey of, someone who could be a mentor to you, or someone who could help coach you and bring in some more um, strategies or tools that could basically, well, from my personal experience, I found the tools and strategies I've learned have kind of like spread themselves out into all the areas of my life. So if I learned them
mhm.
through a parenting course, now I'm using them in my teaching practice, and I'm using them to regulate my own body, for interactions I'm having with people in the real world. So
That I think comes nicely then to, bringing it into the work kind of environment, the connection with others, whether there be
mm-hmm,
your students or, your team members or
mm-hmm,
colleagues and that kind of thing. So um, I know the value and how it impacts, but I'd love to hear it from your perspective of, having that more resilient, grounded space, how that can kind of positively turn into
absolutely.
the rest of the things you do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, for my profession, and I think also as a leader in other areas, one thing that is really important for me to be able to do is to self-regulate. And when I say
Mm,
self-regulate, what I mean is to be able to control my own emotions and physical and mental state in the moment that I'm in. That doesn't mean I
mhm,
don't have moments where I flip my lid or feel like I'm not able to handle a situation. That does happen, of course. But trying to like be grounded and feel like I can confidently handle whatever is going to happen to me in the moment. And that's coming from that one pillar of self. And then that
mhm,
transfers over into that pillar of the relationships that I have with other people around me. And as a teacher that works with a population of 400 students and close to 50 staff members, that's
mhm,
also really important because everybody comes with their own experiences from the day, or their baggage that they're bringing with them, or maybe they didn't have a good sleep, maybe they didn't have breakfast, maybe they had a fight at home. You don't really know what's happening, but if you can maintain a level of calm, then they can co-regulate with you, and
mhm.
co-regulating would be that piece of kind of coming into coherence with the energy that you have, maybe borrowing a little bit of groundedness from you so that they're able to kind of get back into control, and help them to kind of stay and feel grounded too.
That's a
Um,
huge, huge thing, and I've never heard it described so well. So there's a huge takeaway. And I didn't realize, I knew you were involved with the whole school, but I didn't realize the amount of people. And so when I
Mhm.
think about many leaders that I know, they have a fairly limited amount of people that they're directly engaging with on a daily basis, which is way less than 400 plus 450 plus. I mean, some, but I doubt that they're going to be actually physically making a connection with that many people in a day. So when I think about the amount of stability and self-regulation that must require, wow, I guess is
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
initial feeling on that, because I could imagine that getting kind of eroded through the day, by the 10th or the 20th person that you've talked to are that are in panic mode, or they're tired, or they're grumpy. I could see that eroding your that strength, and that stability. So how do you find you manage that through the day?
That is um, a huge question.
Mm,
And I've been teaching for 10 years and I'm still sorting that out. And the biggest part for me in the last year and a half has been learning how to deal with the self part.
mm,
As someone
mhm,
who's coming out of burnout, um, coming to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. That piece of having good sleeps, eating good
mhm,
foods, making sure I've got water, like taking care of the basic physical needs, and then trying to give myself a little bit of time to breathe
yeah,
and do
okay,
some like micro grounding exercises in between. Like I see about 150 to 200 kids a day.
mhm,
Those help. Sometimes it means that I need to just like pause in the middle of what I'm doing and take a breath and or just, yeah, take a breath, feel the
mm,
ground beneath my feet, right? Have a sip of water. I've got essential oils in my room. I might spray some lavender to help myself. But it's also more and more becoming about celebrating the moments of joy and
mm, mhm.
connecting in a positive way with other people.
I love that, because I think that what we pay attention grows, right? So if you're paying attention to the positive and you're giving yourself boosts along the way, that sounds like great strategies. And I think it's easy for people in work to forget. I know even for myself, that's something I've been working on lately. I've been good with my morning routine most days, some days, but then by mid-afternoon, I could use pick me up. So I'm recognizing that it would be helpful to have sort of a mid-afternoon self-care moment. So I'm inspired by you today to kind of put some. They don't have to be huge things. I don't need to take an hour to
Yeah.
journal,
Yeah.
but just like you said, a little bit of essential oils or some breathing can really
Yeah.
help.
Totally.
Mhm.
And I'm really thankful that you brought up the morning routine. I know that years ago you were mentioning to me, try doing a morning routine, and I was like, yeah,
Mm.
this is when I was really like deep in the burnout. I'm like, I don't have time to do that. I'm so exhausted. I wake up and I'm so
Mm.
tired, even though I've had 8 hours of sleep. Like I just can't manage it. And then I dug deep and started doing it last year, and it's made a huge difference. And every time I skip it for a couple of weeks, I can feel it. And I
Mm.
don't have an extended morning routine. I stay in bed with my kids for 15 minutes and I do my mindset checklist, and I might read a couple pages out of a book that I really like, and I might do a little bit of thought downloading in my journal, and then that's it. But the idea of
Lovely.
doing something midday, I like that idea too. Especially with COVID, and we're all kind of like, adults are trying to separate themselves at school.
Mhm.
I find myself in my room by myself, just working through my lunch or eating and working. But I think taking a minute to kind of do something for self would be a really smart idea.
Yeah, and I think that what was highlighting for me is what you're describing is kind of being aware of those levels, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so as it's dropping off, maybe it's a kind of reminder to kind of pick it up a little bit, and or not
Totally.
pick it up, but I mean, like, do the self-care pieces a bit more.
Yeah.
And this is just really a wonderful conversation, I think, to also just talk about the practicalities of it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, sure, self-care, but what does that look like, right? So it's really
Yeah.
nice to hear, what's been helpful for you as
Yeah.
well. And I'd love to hear more about, you're saying about focusing on that joy piece, and how again that self-care and resilience seems to be the key for you to having that kind of positive connection. Is that, I think that's the takeaway you're wanting to share today.
It's Part of it, yeah. Like when I
Okay.
don't have a good night's sleep, I can feel it. But the other part is looking for joy throughout the day, whether that joy be
Mm.
trying to, really be enthusiastic when I greet my students and using their names when they
Mm.
walk through the door and acknowledging people with eye contact and pointing out, like, again, this is about the relationship and the connection. If I want to have people doing what I want, expecting them to do, I need to have a good connection with them. If I don't,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. I can't make anybody do anything. So if I want to teach them something, I need to have them on board. And one of the ways I can do that is by having a positive connection.
Right at the beginning.
And right at
Hmm.
the beginning. And for me, because I only see my students for maximum 2 hours a week, some of them I only see for 45 minutes to an hour a week.
Mm.
I have to work hard to do that. I go out of my way during recesses or lunch times or during my prep times to go and connect with them, or really being present when I see them come in. If I notice they have a band on their shirt, hey, let's talk about the band. Or I hear them talking to their friend about, oh, I've got a dance, thing going on this weekend. I try to make a note of that, even on a Post-it, and just go back and ask about that. Is that building that connections with them,
Oh,
building the
wow. That's
relationships?
lovely. That's lovely. And so I think easy to not do. Again, if we're in that rest state, you kind of can
Mm-hmm.
kind of like fly past that. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to kind of maybe delve a little deeper if we can, a little bit on this whole getting them to sort of do stuff. And that's not quite the right words, but
Yeah.
if you want your students to be engaged, if you want them
Yeah.
actually be quiet in the room. I
Mm-hmm.
know I taught for a short period of time in my early 20s, and that was a challenge in itself, getting them all to pay attention, let alone participating in whatever else you were trying to do in the lessons. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering if you can talk more about that. I think is a helpful thing.
Yeah. My engagement and management strategies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my big piece is based on positive reinforcement. So I like to catch people doing the right thing, even if it's a small minor thing, and I like to comment on it. And I like to use it as an example for their peers as well. So I'll
Mhm.
call them out in a positive way in class. Oh, I really love how when you're singing your words, I could hear your voice speaking, you're singing really clearly. Even though we have a mask on, I know that's challenging to do. Good job. I even have
Nice.
for kids, I don't know if it work in that adult world, but I've got like little star points that I give classes when I catch them doing awesome things. And then when we get to a certain amount of points, we have like a celebration where we get to do some fun favorite activities.
Oh, neat. And that's it
Why
for the
couldn't you do
classes
that with
as a
grown-ups
whole.
too,
Yeah.
though? Yeah,
Why
yeah.
not?
Right?
I think that's kind of fun. I've done something similar where, we were trying to encourage people to be active. And so we tracked two teams and compared, and that sort of working as a team, I think really helps with that cohesion and engagement as
Totally.
well.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure. A
Yeah.
sales contest. I worked where we had sales contests in the past, and or just, yeah, teamwork contests. It's fun. If you can bring
Hmm.
fun into what you do, also you get more buy-in. I don't know. That's one of the keys to success for me.
Hmm.
It's just bringing in fun and engaging ways of doing things. So we can have a meeting, like reviewing expectations or expected behavior, which I usually do at this time of year after coming back from vacations. This time I turned it into a game of Jeopardy.
Oh, that's a neat
So
idea.
I
Yeah.
had the students generate, expected ideas and expected behaviors for different categories, and we took their game and we gave it to another class, and then another class came up with a game for them.
Oh, fun. And that's
So
like
just
also getting them involved kind of together too, that
yeah,
connection
yeah. So
piece.
there's building some
Yeah.
camaraderie between classes that don't even get to see each other, but they know that this class did this for them, and they're doing this for this class. We're building a sense of community, and
Hmm.
way more fun than just sitting there. Okay, well, if we're going to be safe with an instrument, what should we do? How about
Yeah, we're all already tuned out.
something
We haven't
totally
even
different?
started. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
flipping. For
awesome.
me, it would be called flipping a classroom, but there's no reason
Hmm.
you couldn't flip the workplace. And even in that situation, again, it's not me leading the kids; it's the kids leading the other kids.
Tell me more about that, and then I think we'll have to wrap up and maybe do this another conversation another day. Yeah.
Okay, kids leading other kids.
Hmm.
Well, there's lots of ways to do that. One of my favorite ways to do that is to pull the learners that are having the most challenges. So the learners that could potentially be the lowest learners in the situation, and give them some coaching one-on-one on the side, maybe during recess times, and teach them a special skill set, and then get them
Mm.
to come back into the class with their class and then become one of the teachers.
Okay, I have to highlight that. So I knew there would be some relevant cross things from kids to adults. So you bring them and they're now all of a sudden the expert. And then
Now
they can, yeah.
they're seen in front of their peers as an expert, and they're building their confidence. They're getting an experience of teaching, which is going to reintegrate and deepen their own learning and motivate them. So these are the kids that might normally in other situations be getting like called out in a negative way, potentially for unexpected behavior or for not participating to the best that they can. And again, you have to have a connection with people before you can do this. You're not going to get buy-in from someone who's disengaged at work or at school by asking them to do this unless you have a connection. You have a connection, you bring excitement. I've got this awesome idea. I need your help. I can't do it without you. We can spend some special time together. I'll help you figure this out. I need you to work with me. And then there you go.
Oh, that even just hearing that gets me excited.
It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. How amazing. And what a way, like you said, to kind of flip the situation from struggle and challenge, which then can be hard on everybody in the room, as well as yourself trying to kind of manage the situation, instead of making it fun, calling on them to be extra engaged. I love this. I'm really excited to kind of think about that concept more and how I can kind of integrate that elsewhere as well. Because I think that we're all humans, whether we're 6 years old or 60 years old. You know, there's some common traits regardless of age or position. Totally. Yeah. And really that connection is huge. And as I kind of rewind our conversation a little bit, that self-connection is the starter point. So that you have that energy to be able to be there for these other connections. So this has been an awesome conversation. I'm so glad that we were able to do this and you've been open to sharing with everybody as part of the summit. So I'm just wondering, as we wrap up, if there's any final thoughts you think that you'd like to pass along.
I think one thing that would probably be important to recognize in the way of building a connection and relationship with someone else is taking the time to learn who that person is. And for me, because I see kids for such a short period of time, that it takes me time. I'm not in the classroom with them all day long, but learning who they are. What's their personal story? What's the story with their family? Where are they at developmentally or physically? Where are they at? What are their interests? What are their abilities? What areas do they need support? What strategies could I use to support them? And this would also be where I would lean heavily in on my team. Lots of conversations with other staff members to try and figure out the best possible way to help this person thrive. So knowing that is really critical, because if you don't know who your learners are, or in other people's situations, the people that they're leading, if you don't know them well enough, it's going to be really hard to build that connection and get that engagement from them.
So you're almost doing your research a little bit, it sounds like.
Yeah, so, for sure. And I think it's important, sorry to interrupt, for adults too. Like, how do you, if someone's performance is not looking that great or is off, maybe there's something happening that you don't know about within that person's personal life or their physical health, or something happening at work that you might not be aware of. That could be a simple thing to help support them with, or maybe just, for me, even having a perspective like, oh, this person has this going on. Wow, that explains so much. Now I can put on different lenses and maybe offer a little bit more compassion or support than I might have if I thought, no, that's not normally how they are. Like, what's going on, right?
Oh, I love this. This is great, because it's a human connection. I believe that organizations are made up of people, and leadership is all around people. You know, that's what life is, personally for me, is all relationship and connections. And so I really appreciate you highlighting that today in such a beautiful way. So I'm sure everybody listening will really enjoy this presentation. And so I'm just wondering if there's any final thoughts. I think you've already shared a lot, and then we'll wrap up.
Final thoughts. I think that is good.
That
I can't
covers
think
it.
of anything
Yeah,
else. Yeah.
great. Well, this is wonderful, and what a pleasure for me to be able to talk with you for almost 20 minutes on your perspective on leadership and relationships and communication and all of that. So connections and everything. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your time with us today. So I
It's been
look
a lot
forward
of
to
fun.
I look forward to
Thanks for
doing some
having me,
more.
Vicky.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you.